welcome to That Just Doesn't Make Sense, the Nature of Things. We're continuing the series on the progressivism intellectual movement, continuing our analysis of the article from the Center for American Progress titled The Progressive Intellectual Tradition in America. Progressivism as an intellectual movement emerged between 1890 and 1920 as a response to the multitude of problems associated with the industrialization of the U.S. economy. Frequent economic depressions, political corruption, rising poverty, low wages, poor working conditions, tenement living, child labor, lack of collective bargaining power, unsafe consumer products, and the misuse of natural resources. In this episode, we are going to focus on a specific section of that article I just read to you. In this section, it tells us when the movement emerged into the public and political landscapes. It states that a response to the multitude of problems associated with the industrialization of the U.S. economy. I stopped right there because I want to review the list of so-called problems. Why do I use the phrase so-called? Because I want to vet their premises. So let us start with political corruption. Now, when I first read this document and I came to that accusation, a question formed in my mind. How many politicians of the timeline are we talking about? I went back from 1890 to our founding. I found nothing that required a person to be removed from office nor imprisonment. The corruption that we see today is enormous compared to what I discovered. In other words, nothing has changed from that timeline. In fact, it has gotten much, much worse since the movement has become entrenched into our government. There was a handful of scandals, but none of them led to anything that would be considered corruption. So again, what corruption is the article referring to? The article, as I mentioned in the last sentence or episode, was written well and is a good read. But there are no specifics to use as evidence or an example of what they are accusing. At least present one example of each of the items on their list, which should be common in presenting governmental ideas to the public anyway. We are left to either accept what they are telling us or do our own research and investigation. Ask yourself these questions. Do the words make sense? Do the reasons for coming up with new legislation hold water? Are you left with a what in your mind? And most importantly, what is the press saying about all this? That's the big one, folks. Because that is really what they are here for. Who cares about what this guy or that guy has said or done? Because it's not about any one person. It is about the federal government as a whole. The press should be asking the questions that we are asking ourselves with zero bias involved. But they do not do that. They pick a side and try to paint a picture of the other side as pushing a conspiracy of some sort. And I know, a lot of you are out there going to say one side does it more than the other side. The thing I want you to consider, though, is that is just what they want you to think or believe. Because as long as we are arguing amongst ourselves, that means there's less time we're spending doing our own research. To me, there is no left side or right side. There is just us and the government. Keep that in mind. Always fall back onto the Constitution because it supports what I just said in the last sentence. It is we the people versus the federal government, not us fighting amongst ourselves. That is exactly what they want us to do. When I look back at the corruption from 1890 to our founding, I found no one was held accountable. Fast forward to today. We've got documented abuses, unverified dossiers used for investigation, FISA warrant problems, And still, nobody goes to jail. Same pattern, 130 years apart. Corruption without accountability means the system protects itself. Now, I know that last part seems like I'm repeating myself, but I am not. When the article speaks to corruption, it is just words. How can it be that there was enough political corruption, that there was enough political corruption that it needed to be put into the article, yet, in reality, nothing has been truly done about it, ever. As this series evolves, my hopes are that you will take the time to just pull up some random story, whether it is current or historical, and read through it or listen to a newscast regarding it, or both, and break it down to the story itself. And again, ask yourself, does the narrative that you're being told hold water? I hope this episode was able to get you to say to yourself, maybe he's got something there. Look, those depressions from the last episode and then the political corruption for yourself, and hopefully come back and say you are right, or you don't know what the hell you're talking about. Either way, I do not care. I only care about you coming up with the answers that are based upon your own research and your own reasoning. And if you should be moved to, post a comment regarding it so we can discuss it on another episode. And remember, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you don't ever miss an episode. Thank you, and we'll see you on the next one.